Good morning mga katribu and welcome to another episode of Straight Talk. I am Goddess Hope Libiran and joining us today is an international relations scholar, a political affairs host, and a vlogger. Welcome to Straight Talk, Sass, Rogando, Sasot.
Hi, Goddess! Good morning!
Hi, good morning, Sass. How are you?
Napagising niyo ako ng maaga, ha?
Ay, hindi ka ba talaga morning person?
I'm okay lang din ako morning, pero I'm more kasi alive during the evening.
Okay.
When the sun
Exciting.
is out.
Exciting.
When the sun is out. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm more of a night owl.
Talagang gusto talaga naming ma-interview ka today kasi alam mo, laman ka ng social media these past few days. And nakita namin yung mga struggles mo, yung mga advocacies mo, and we want to hear it straight from you. That's why the name of this program is Straight Talk, no? Ayan. So as a member, as a member of the LGBTQ community, simulan natin, no? We want to get to know you more muna. So as a member of the LGBTQ community, what was your funniest as well as your most harrowing misogyny encounter and how did you deal with it?
Hala, nakakaloka yung tanong. Ano mo na yung misogyny eh? Define misogyny.
Oh yeah, hindi.
Define misogyny.
Hindi, yung siguro nakaramdam ka ng discrimination being a member of the LGBTQ community.
Harrowing. Funniest. Paano ba yung funniest? Well, I think every day of your life is funny. You have to take it with a great deal of sense of humor. Now, everyone has, everyone in this world struggles. And I think the flavor of the struggle is just what's different. And, and you just have to deal with it with a very open mind. My mother taught me this, na sabi niya, lawakan mo yung pag-intindi mo sa buhay. And once you take that to heart, then, of course, mapupuwing ka rin minsan, madadapa, but at the end of the day, you would just laugh at it.
Okay, pero meron bang naging experience ka in the past na napaiyak ka?
Napaiyak ako?
Yes.
Marami.
Marami. Pero yung isa, sige, pili ka lang ng isa, na talagang tumatak sa'yo, di mo makakalimutan.
Ano ba to? Tears of joy or tears of suffering?
Kahit ano, basta kung ano yung, siguro tears of suffering, diba? Kasi, ano yung pinaka-memorable experience mo as a member of the LGBT community na nakapagpaiyak talaga sa'yo, nakasakit sa damdamin mo?
Ang I think ang pinakamasakit na nangyari, it's if I'm gonna look at back all the things that I had gone through, ang pinakamasakit I think is kung yung ibang tao yung nagsasuffer for me.
Yeah.
Alam mo yun, just because they're associated with me. Like, for example, when I had my first boyfriend in high school, I could take the insults against me. Pero, siya na yung...
Nasasaktan.
Siya na yung when the insults were hurled at him, that was more heartbreaking.
Yan, I agree.
For me.
I agree. Ganun naman talaga, no? Pero, yun nga, in the past few days, we have read your post. We saw your video. Let us know, ano ba yung ano? Ano yung nangyari? Ano yung nangyari sa Cavite? Ano yung nag-trending nitong mga nakaraang araw?
Ano kasi yan, there's this school in Cavite, Southern Philippines Institute of Science and Technology, ang haba ng pangalan. SPIST. So, they invited me to be their guest speaker. And then, the night before, the owner of the venue, which is a religious group, wanted to cancel me.
Okay.
And
The owner of the venue, not the school itself.
not the
Okay.
school. So they wanted to cancel me. And the reason was, ano daw ako, part of the LGBT community, and then they don't allow LGBT speakers on their stage. So the school negotiated. This is less than 12 hours. And they threatened that if they won't cancel me, they would turn off the lights, the sound system, and they won't let the graduation finish. So it's a events place. The school rented it. So it's a lesser-lessee relationship, and it must be governed by a contract. When they picked me up dito sa Makati, and they told me the story, I told them na, well, what's your decision? Because it's okay for me na hindi na ako pumunta.
Yeah. What did the school say?
Naano sila na, pumunta ka pa rin ng Cavite.
Okay.
Ng Cavite.
Oh.
Punta pa rin ng Cavite. And then sabi ko, ayokong pumunta lang ng Cavite. Kasi pwede naman kasi ako magpahinga na lang sa bahay. I was very tired. Nakailang taping kasi ako ng statecraft. Pwede ko bang sabihin yan? Nakailang taping kasi ako ng statecraft last week, and a lot of other things. So they still pushed through. They brought me to Cavite. And yun na nga, nung nagkaroon, dalawa kasing yung graduation Twice ako magsispeech dapat. So, yun sa una, they got somebody else.
Okay.
Pero sabi nila na, kahit umattend ka na lang. Parang ganyan. So, pumunta ka pa rin. And then, pinapunta nila ako sa hapon.
Okay.
So, I was there. And, kasi there was also a threat na hindi ako papapasukin ng venue.
Okay.
And, nakapasok ako ng venue. Of course, everyone's surprised. Looking back, everyone's surprised. Na, paano ako nakapasok ng venue? And apparently, of course, they don't know me. Everyone's wearing a mask. Diba? And, nung nakapasok na ako, so dinala ako sa stage. And may nagbibigay pa kasi ng speech. And then, tinanong ako, do you have your speech with you?
Yeah.
Sabi ko, I didn't bring the hard copy. So, I only have my cell phone. So, kaya it's in my cell phone. Tapos yun, after nung speaker, ikaw nang susunod siyan.
Okay. Who said that?
One of the school admins.
Okay.
Okay. And then, I spoke. And after a few paragraphs, the owner of the venue fulfilled their threat. And the rest is on social media.
Hindi, grabe. Pero nung napanood ko kasi yung video, no, kita na, ako kasi, yun nga, ito nga ako,
as goddess.
As goddess, no? Kung sa akin kasi nangyari yun, baka hindi ako kasing composed kagaya mo. No? Kasi, habang nagsasalita ako, I was pouring my heart out, and then, papatayan ka ng mikropono, papatayan ka ng ilaw, no? You maintained your composure, you maintained your cool. Pero what really moved me was the fact that the students, those who attended the ceremony, took out their cell phones, no, and provided light. Sa'yo. Kasi pinatayan ka ng ilaw Tapos they were cheering, no? Para
even the
ituloy
parents,
mo.
yeah.
Even the parents. Diba? Anong pakiramdam mo at that very moment?
Of course, I was
Halo-halo.
shocked. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Na, syempre, nandun yung security. Mamaya kalat ka rin ako, di ba?
Nakita sa video, di ba?
Na gusto kong ibaba. Yun na nga nung umakyat ng security. doon na nagsisigaw yung mga estudyante ng respeto. And, ayan, nung nakita ko yung mga ilaw, I was just shocked. Kasi nga na they would do that to a stranger. Hindi ko naman sila kaano-ano. I don't even know anyone in that school.
Hindi, pero yung security, yung gumagawa sa niyan, yung pumatay ng ilaw, yung pumatay ng microphone, ayan mga staff ng church mismo, not the school.
Ng organization.
Okay. Pero grabe, no? Grabe yung naranasan at naramdaman mo nun. Pero nabasa namin dun sa post, you mentioned that you were double canceled. So what do you mean by that?
Well, ang una kasing reason is LGBT, and then I was told na when they pressed, kasi nga is it really about LGBT? Kasi their MC is LGBT.
Correct. So nandun sa stage mismo.
Oo, hindi naman nila pinapa-cancel yung host,
Okay.
yung MC. When it comes to speaking line, mas mahaba naman yung speaking line. Diba? Remember, ang reason na binigyan ng pastor, they don't let LGBT to perform or be a guest speaker.
But in the first place, were those guidelines really included in the first, the communication, siguro?
The contract.
The contract.
Yeah, well, their relationship is governed by a contract kasi it's between a lesser and a lessee.
Yes.
Hello,
But
naman,
what's in the contract? What's in the contract? Nandun ba yun?
Tinanong ko kasi sila, those are the questions that I asked them. No, what's in your contract? Kasi of course, gusto na patuloy eh. So, tinanong ko, what's in your contract?
Yeah.
Kasi kung nasa kontrata kasi nila na the venue will not allow LGBT speaker, I will not insist. Kasi that's in the contract. Pero that's not in the contract, they told me. Wala rin, they didn't agree on the terms that they were setting. 12 hours, less than 12 hours.
And during the program itself, you mentioned earlier na sila mismo yung nagsabi sa'yo eh. Na do you have your speech with you?
Yeah.
O after this speaker, ikaw na. So, syempre, ikaw, di ba, bilang pakikisama at bilang respeto na rin sa event, nandun mga magulang, mga estudyante, of course, you will speak. Di ba?
Well, I have a contractual obligation
yes.
with the school. They contracted me to speak. And, I'm a professional. You go there, you do your job, and whatever happens, the show must go on.
And what was the general reaction of the parents and the students right after the incident?
Right, actually, mga parents nagagalit dun sa Church of God kasi they paid.
Yeah.
Diba? And
ano yun? Sorry, hindi natuloy na yung graduation?
hindi na, kasi
Naputol?
may part na kasi after me, ang magsasalita is the valedictorian.
Okay.
So even the valedictorian, hindi nila pinagbuksan ng ilaw.
Oh my God. Okay.
So it's, when I was there, looking back, I felt na, what the students did and what the school did is the real, they really showed what it really means to be a Christian and what it means to be a Filipino and what it means to be a human being. Nung nandun ako na parang, you would really do this on live stream.
Yes.
Watch, kasi nila live stream ng school yung event eh. And a lot of cell phones were there. Can you imagine at the age of cell phone, you would do something as brazen as this? So yun na nga, na you don't do this. This is very, it's in hospitality. I was a guest, I was a guest of the renter. The whatever reasons you have, there are better ways of dealing with it.
Correct.
Instead of canceling the entire graduation.
Yeah. I can just imagine, siguro the heartbreak of the parents and the students who went there, mainit sa labas, no? Mainit sa labas, tagaktak yung pawis, naghintay ng ilang oras para makamarcha yung mga anak nila, mabigyan ng award, makapagsalita man lang yung valedictorian. Pero what happened, 'di ba? Hindi na sila marcha after
Well,
that.
it wasn't, the graduation wasn't concluded.
Okay.
So they were already, nasa part, after na kasi ito ng yung kuhanan ng diploma.
Okay.
Pero the entire
Okay.
graduation,
Hindi pa tapos.
hindi natapos.
Oo.
Di ba? Syempre, you want to feel na you were throwing your
toga.
ano to, yung hat,
graduation cap.
graduation cap, di ba? So gusto mo naman ng ganon, di ba? Everyone is looking forward to that moment. So, ayun na nga, na there are better ways of dealing with the situation. Kasi I think everyone na nag-involve sa events, even nga, 2 days before the event, you don't do any changes already. Diba?
Yes.
Diba? It's an events place, so you have to respect the events organizer. They have organized it. And ang sinasabi ko nga, if you have these religious beliefs that you would like to be strictly followed in for the rental of your events place, put it into contract. Kasi like, for example,
But it wasn't in the contract.
it wasn't in the contract. You put it into writing. If it's that important, hello, ASEC,
yeah.
you're in the government. If it's that important, you put it into writing.
Yeah, I
Diba? Even a lot of things, especially dito nagkaroon ng exchange of money. What do you expect? Diba? What do you expect from the person renting your venue? Kahit naman magrenta ka nga ng bed space, may kontrato of what you can and cannot do.
Yeah. Okay, so ilang araw na after nung event? Mga 4 days?
So it was Friday, so Monday. So 4 days
Yeah,
na.
4 days na. So, what happened after? May mga realization ka ba? May mga lumabas ba ng mga any issue connected to that incident? Ano yung takeaways mo? Learning experience?
Well, doon sa nangyari, personally,
Yeah.
I think life is really about courage. Diba? And it's about facing the consequence of your action. The school knew that there was a threat. They continued. So they showed courage. The Church of God also knew that this would be live stream, people will watch it, and then they had also shown courage to do what they wanted to do. But the thing at the end of the day is you have to face the consequence of your action.
Yeah, kasi maraming mga lumalabas ngayon ng mga issues online regarding yung mga nakalagay sa contract kasi nahalungkat kung ano yung mga nakalagay sa contract at may mga nakalagay na donation. Tapos
diba?
merong na hindi siya tineterm as payment but donation, yung mga ganon, no?
Yes.
So yun ang hinahalungkat ng mga tao ngayon.
Well, hindi rin naman, it was the pastor who mentioned it. Na there was a down payment. They expected a reasonable donation and then they receive a down payment. And of course, people are wondering, if it's donation, why is there a down payment?
Correct.
Diba? And I think ito yung isang, kaya nga ang sabi ko, this is beyond LGBT. Naging beyond na siya ng LGBT issue eh. And the conversation is no longer among LGBT people. I think the more significant conversations about the event are, of course, syempre meron dong tax issue, di ba? At meron din yung ecclesiastical conversation, the conversation among Christians, among Christian groups.
Yeah.
Di ba? Na whether what they saw of what one of their peers did is acceptable to their faith.
Yes.
Di ba? Ang bottom line nga is, what would Jesus do?
Correct.
Diba? What would Jesus do at that moment? Diba? So I think that is a more interesting conversation that's going on right now. It's not really more than the LGBT angle. It's really what would Jesus do at that moment.
Yeah, I agree with you. No? But moving on. Yeah, sige. Next question tayo. Kasi you're known to be a part of the Duterte social media group that's been accused so many times of spreading fake information and misleading statements. And now you're also identified with President-elect Bongbong Marcos. So the question is, are you joining his communications team or his administration?
I'm not applying and no one is offering me anything.
Okay. But with regard to yun nga, yung mga accusations that, the likes of you are spreading fake news and misinformation, how will you defend yourself?
Well, I can only defend myself in the court of law. We have a law against libel, defamation. We have also a law against false news. So I've been blogging for 6 years. I've been accused of spreading false news, but no one has filed a case against me ng libel. And the journalist who spread that before and tagged me as part of a fake news network has a libel case and convicted of a libel case. So,
Ikaw hindi.
ako hindi. So, I think, di ba? Even someone filing a libel case against me, wala. So,
And nakikita ko yung, in fairness naman, nababasa ko. Follower mo ako eh.
Oh,
Top fan
thank
pa nga
you.
eh.
Oh.
Top fan pa. Pero anyway, nakikita ko kasi yung mga posts mo. And nakikita ko na talagang thoroughly, nag-research ka talaga before you post something eh. And congratulations sa mga ganon. Okay, so napakagandang conversation nito. Namumove ako. So mga katribo, stay tuned. Straight Talk will be back after this short break.
Magandang araw mga katribo! Narito na ang mga makakasama nyo tuwing umaga sa programang Gising Na. Roy Pelevelo, Atty. Lia Badillo Crisostomo, Vernon Velasco, Kim Sancha at Chert Balagtas. Abangan ang programang Gising Na sa Facebook page ng Daily Tribune.
Ilabas na ang mainit na kape at samahan kami sa inyong pag-almusal, mga katribo.
Simulan natin ang bawat umaga with good vibes sa mga informative and recreational segments ng aming programa.
Maaari niyo rin ibahagi sa amin ang inyong opinion via Daily Tribune Facebook page at Tribune Now sa YouTube.
Makichika na rin sa latest showbiz happenings, mga katribo.
Kaya naman, magsama-sama po tayo sa
Gising na!
Ang Daily Tribune may digital shows na din. Dahil sa mas lumalaki at mas lumalakas nating tribu, handog sa inyo ng Daily Tribune ang mga programang magbibigay buhay araw-araw. Be informed at mag-good vibes tuwing umaga sa programang Gising Na. Be updated sa news and happenings sa Tribune News on Q. Mas kilalanin pa natin ang mga paborito nyong atleta sa programang The Athletes Tribune. Alamin ang latest entertainment sa programang What's Up. Ma-inspire sa mga kwentong hatid ng Perfect. Search lang ang Daily Tribune sa inyong Facebook at Tribune Now on YouTube. See you there mga katribu! Alamin ang latest entertainment at sa mga paborito nyong celebrities kasama si Pocholo Concepcion sa programang What's Up. Makibanding at kwentuhan kasama ang mga kilalang personalidad sa entertainment industry. Sama-sama natin silang kilalanin at silipin ang makulay nilang mundo every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Kaya sit back and relax lang kayo mga katribu. Hanapin at ilike ang Daily Tribune Facebook page at Tribune Now on YouTube. Dahil sagot na namin ang masayang kwentuhan, dito lang sa What's Up.
Welcome back on Straight Talk. Still with us is the international relations scholar, political affairs host, and blogger, Sass Rogando Sasot. Yan, nagbabalik na tayo, Sass. Kamusta naman ulit?
ito, sandali lang ang Goddess. Tinitingnan ko yung mga comment.
Okay.
May gusto lang ako sagutin dito.
Ano ba yung
Pwede ba
comment?
sagutin ko dyan?
Sige. Ano
yung
yung comment?
Comment siya ni, gusto magpasikat ha,
Anong
ni
sabi?
Roseler Fabras.
Anong sabi
Yan,
niya?
Roseler Fabras. I think, baka fake account, pero Roseler Fabras. Sabi niya, Sass, gawa ka daw ni Satanas. Sabi ni Pastor Kibuloy, amo mo sa SMNI. So, the thing is, it's really interesting, di ba? Kasi I'm working with SMNI. I have a show in SMNI, and it's everyone knows that it's owned by Pastor Kibuloy.
A pastor.
A pastor, di ba? Na, the thing about Pastor Kibuloy is he differentiate the spiritual realm from the secular realm. Di ba? In their beliefs, they have certain beliefs on what a sin is. Pero the secular realm is different from that. If you want to, they have a concept of salvation, the salvation of your soul.
Okay.
And there is, of course, a particular way of living that you have to do in order for your soul to be saved according to their belief. But that belief, sa aming conversation ni Pastor, it's not translatable to the secular world kasi wala namang salvation sa secular world. The secular world is about living together in harmony. So, and following the rules of man. Diba? Parang render unto Caesar what is for Caesar, and then give to God what is to God. So that's the two different things. So yung sinasabi niya na gawa ka raw ni Satanas, sabi ni Pastor Kibuloy, well, that is if that is true, whoever says that, that is part of your belief system. But you cannot translate that into a secular law kasi magkaiba pong mundo 'yon.
Yeah, at lahat tayo gawa ng Diyos. Actually ako, yung personal opinion ko on that matter is that ang simbahan, hindi lang po yan lugar ng mga banal. Nandiyan yung simbahan para maging, yun nga, hospital or clinic ng mga makasalanan. 'Di ba lahat ng mga tao, ako, I am attending church, Hindi naman ako banal. Hindi ako holy. Hindi ako yung taong perpekto na walang kasalanan. Ang dami kong kasalanan. Pumupunta ako diyan, para idulog sa Diyos lahat ng mga kasalanan na yon, ihingi ng tawad. So it serves also as a hospital o paggamutan para sa mga makasalanan. So hindi yan ginawa para lang, exclusive para sa mga perpektong tao. Ayun nga. So syempre, paano ka naman makakagamot ng may sakit? Kung ayaw mong papasukin sa ospital.
Yung may sakit.
Diba? So that's just one way of putting it. Okay, so ito naman, pinapatanong sa akin do you miss your life in the Netherlands? What was your work there? Para makilala ka lalo ng ating mga kababayan.
Let's start with what was my work in the Netherlands. The last work I had in the Netherlands, I was a teacher in a university.
Okay.
So I was teaching several courses.
Like
International relations, international diplomatic negotiations, policy analysis, European politics.
Sa Netherlands ba, Sorry, curious ako. Sa Netherlands, meron din bang ganitong mga instances? Like, kagaya nung nangyari sa'yo, do you think that will happen in Netherlands?
That's going to be a very, very rare event that would make Dutch people, they would find it unacceptable. Not because Dutch people are not religious. There are religious Dutch people. Merong yung Bible Belt sa Netherlands. So contrary to what people think about the Netherlands, it's very, it's very modern, whatever.
Modern.
No, it's the Netherlands. This is what I miss about the Netherlands actually. It's marami talaga, iba-iba talagang grupo ng tao dyan sa Netherlands, iba't ibang beliefs. Political, religious, cultural. Mas matindi nga yung pagkakaiba nila doon. Kasi it's not just like difference between two people in the same nationality.
Okay.
You have different nationalities, everything, it's multicultural in an international sense. Pero the foundation kasi ng Dutch society is tolerance.
Okay. Tolerance.
So, okay, yan ka, ito ako, so imbis na magpatayan tayo, chill na lang tayo.
You respect each other. You accord
Actually,
each
it's not
other.
about respect. It's really
Tolerance.
tolerance. Chill lang tayo. Kasi, the
Okay, ganyan ka. Huwag tayo pansinan, ganyan ka. Ganito ako,
hindi.
ganon.
That's okay.
Oh,
okay.
okay.
So, I have judgment about you, but okay.
Okay.
Ganon.
Yeah.
Ganon yung attitude na it's, kaya something like this would not be acceptable. Like and a lot of things. For example, in the Philippines, politics has become so personal. That is something that I haven't witnessed in the Netherlands.
Why?
Kasi nga, tolerance. My ex-boyfriend, my boyfriend for 9 years, ex na. His family is actually from a traditional conservative section of Dutch society. And nakakatuwa po, they have different political parties na sinusuportahan. Sa dinner table, explosive ang usapan about politics, about differences. And then after na, chill.
Chill na.
Maybe it's
Unlike
maybe,
dito,
maybe it's something they smoke. pero chill lang na Pero in the last few years, something is changing. It's the influence of the woke culture.
Okay.
Na, spreading like a disease all over the world.
Even in Netherlands, no?
Even in the Netherlands na nung nandun ako ng mga umpisang mga taon, it's not really
Like
hindi ganun ka-toxic na pinipersonal yung politika or mga bagay. Kasi nga chill lang eh. Parang, can you imagine before a statement like this, like, let's talk about nagkakaroon ng explosion. Oh my God. Parang sabihin lang namin, okay, let's just talk about this over beer. Alam mo yung ganyan na parang chill lang tayo.
At saka hindi uso ang cancel culture.
Noong una.
Walang
Pero
ganon.
kasi nga, nag-spread na kasi yung woke
Mas
attitude.
contagious pa than COVID.
Oo. Actually, before COVID.
Okay.
COVID. Diba? Kasi sa Netherlands kasi, freedom of speech is very sacred. Very sacred. Kaya noon, nasanay na ako na even people insulting you, just let them. Parang, tolerance. I remember attending a protest rally about migration. Of course, I'm an immigrant. Can you imagine the anti-immigrant were like facing us, and then we are here, and then the Dutch village is like in the middle of us. So they let both sides do their thing. Kahit nga, ang iniiwasan lang kasi nila is maging physical ka. Diba? Na you do something with your belief. Kasi it's okay to parang anong sa kanila. It's okay to have that belief. Pero once you do, you act on it, that's the thing
You
na
harm people.
Oo.
Yeah.
Or you impose harm,
Yeah,
ganyan.
yeah.
It's okay that you have that belief. Pero once you act on it, then na magkakaproblema. At then napapasok yung batas.
Pero yun nga, napag-usapan na natin yung ganyan, no? Pero do you think LGBTQs right now, no, are in a good place, notwithstanding the persistence of gender inequality and misogyny? Here in the Philippines, what do you think?
In a good place? Well, it's much better than...
10 years ago, mga ganon.
Well, it's much better than when I was growing up.
Okay.
Kasi
Bakit? When you were growing up?
even religious groups now, there are more religious groups now that are more tolerant.
Okay.
Kasi when I was growing up, it's unheard of. Yung mga really, like for example, itong nangyari sa akin. If this happened when I was like in my teenage years, I don't think that there are going to be any religious groups who would be releasing statements of support. Except, of course, yung mga LGBT related. Kasi may mga LGBT
So
run.
it was hard for you growing up?
It was harder then than now.
Yeah.
So,
Kaya pala nung tinanong kita kanina kung ano yung most harrowing experience, ganyan, sabi mo marami.
it's, well, meron ako mga life and death situation. Yung mga hinahabol ka ng lead pipe.
Oh.
Oo, dito sa Philippines yan na. Pero I was like much younger then. So it's a much hindi ano kasi goddess, if you live in the Philippines, you wouldn't see the changes that's going on kasi you feel that everything is just the same. But when you live outside the country for a long time,
Then you come back.
you see your country in a different light. It's like observing it now from a microscope. From a microscope. From a telescope. Microscope. Diba? From a telescope na you would see you would see it in a different way. Kasi pag nandito ka, you just feel na nothing's changing.
Yeah, pero pag nasa labas ka nga
labas
naman,
ka, makikita mo
naman.
na, there are things that are changing.
And you've proved that to yourself when you came back.
Oo, halimbawa ngayon, after this incident, can you imagine a group of Christian groups, a coalition of Christian groups, organizations, religious groups, would like to have a dialogue with me. This didn't happen.
Diba?
Like,
Dati hindi yan.
Hindi
bahala ka
ganyan
dyan.
yan. Ano talaga, bardagulan.
Oo,
Bardagulan
oo.
talaga kayo noon. So now, I think people are becoming more and more tolerant.
Yun
Than
naman yung
before.
ano.
Kasi itong nangyari kasi nitong sa Cavite to, it's intolerant, pero you know, it's something that ngayon makakakita ka na ng mga religious groups speaking against it.
And siya, I'm sure, merong mga members yung mga religious community na ganyan, na nag-reach out sa'yo.
Yeah, even from the church itself.
Yeah, okay.
Na nag-i-email sa akin na apologizing for what happened.
Yeah. That's a good sign.
So makikita mo talaga na magkaiba talaga yung pamunuan doon sa mga nananampalataya.
Okay. O sige, so napag-usapan natin yung mga most harrowing experience, yung nagkaroon ka ng difficulty when you were growing up. Ngayon naman, let's talk about the things that make you happy. So what makes you happy and fulfilled? And what do you think is your greatest accomplishment by far?
Well, the greatest accomplishment I have in my life is healing the relationship that I have with my mother.
Okay.
So that's my greatest accomplishment.
Yeah, kasi noon, di ba, nababasa ko yan eh. Di ba, sabi mo nga sa'yo, top fan mo. Kasi nababasa ko talaga lahat.
Diba, our spot became public pa nga, di ba? Na ginamit pa ng dilaw na ngayon ay pink na. Yung
Okay.
spot namin. Na, you know,
But at least now.
Well, now, okay na kami. We, you know, natatawa na nga lang ako na, you know, itong pumutok tong issue na to. Of course, they're looking for something to throw at me. Nire-repost pa nila yung away namin, yung inano ko ng nanay ko on social media. Sabi ko, that was like so long ago. Iba na, we're like best friends
now. Ay, galing. I'm very
Oh,
happy.
nag-uusap na nga kami na, alam mo, parang na kaming girl pals. Na parang, tinatanong ko siya, ma, paano kayo nagkita? Kasi walay sila ng father ko, so for a long time. Pero tinatanong ko siya, paano kayo nagkailaban nito?
Nakita ko nga one time, pinapakilayan mo yata yung nanay mo.
Oo, parang nung nag-date ka, yung dinate ko yung mama ko, or date your mothers, ha? Date your mothers. So, nung dinate ko yung mama ko, mailalabas ko kayo, ano gusto niyong gawin? Tapos sabi niya, ay naku, paayos mo yung kilay ko kasi nakapagod na akong
So, microblading, ganun.
Okay, microblading.
Tuwan-tuwa yung mother mo.
Oo, tuwang-tuwa siya. Sabi, ang ganda-ganda niya. Salamat, ang ganda-ganda ng kilay ko. So parang kaming girl pals.
Things like that make you happy. Nakita mo.
Yes, alam mo, as a goddess, modesty aside, everything that I wanted to accomplish before the age of 40, I accomplished them all already.
Wow.
So parang, you know, I'm really contented. I think that makes me happy, the feeling of contentment na sabi ko, parang, I'm okay. Alam mo yun? Na parang, you know, whatever you do to me, you shame me or whatever, na-accomplish ko na lahat ng gusto kong ma-accomplish before the age of 40. So, iniisip ko na lang, halimbawa, yung mga nag-insult sa akin, parang, have you ever accomplished everything that you wanted to accomplish at your age? Kaya ganyan kayo makapanlait. Ako, chill na nga lang. Ay, chill na lang. Kamunti ka na ako makapagsalita. Parang chill na lang.
Okay.
Parang chill na lang ako ngayon. Kasi nga na parang, you know, I did everything that I wanted to do before the age of 40. So now it's just a time for new dreams and new adventures. So,
yeah.
Ayun.
So, dyan nakikita nyo, no, mga katribu, yung nagagawa rin talaga ng courage, self-confidence, indomitable spirit when it comes to pursuing your dreams. At nangyari yan kay Sass. She had a hard time growing up. Ang daming mga hurdles na hinarap siya at nalampasan niya. Kaya mamaya, magbabalik tayo mga katribu. Stay tuned, Straight Talk. We'll be back after this short break.
Magandang araw mga katribu! Narito na ang mga makakasama nyo tuwing umaga sa programang Gising Na. Roy Pelovelo, Atty. Lia Badillo Crisostomo, Vernon Velasco, Kim Sancha at Chert Balagtas. Abangan ang programang Gising Na sa Facebook page ng Daily Tribune.
Ilabas na ang mainit na kape at samahan kami sa inyong pag-almusal, mga katribo.
Simulan natin ang bawat umaga with good vibes sa mga informative and recreational segments ng aming programa.
Maaari niyo rin ibahagi sa amin ang inyong opinion via Daily Tribune Facebook page at Tribune Now sa YouTube.
Makichika na rin sa latest showbiz happenings, mga katribo.
Kaya naman, magsama-sama po tayo sa
Gising na!
Ang Daily Tribune may digital shows na din. Dahil sa mas lumalaki at mas lumalakas nating tribu, handog sa inyo ng Daily Tribune ang mga programang magbibigay buhay araw-araw. Be informed at mag-good vibes tuwing umaga sa programang Gising Na. Be updated sa news and happenings sa Tribune News on Q. Mas kilalanin pa natin ang mga paborito nyong atleta sa programang The Athletes Tribune. Alamin ang latest entertainment sa programang What's Up. Ma-inspire sa mga kwentong hatid ng Perfect. Search lang ang Daily Tribune sa inyong Facebook at Tribune Now on YouTube. See you there mga katribu! Non-stop showbiz update ba ang hanap nyo? Sagot na yan ang aming Tribune Extra. Balitang entertainment at lifestyle, mapalocal man o international, meron kami niyan. Manood at makichika na kasama si Kim Sancha, Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 5 ng hapon sa Tribune News on Q at separate premiere nito ng alas 7:30 ng gabi. Mapapanood sa Daily Tribune Facebook page at Tribune Now on YouTube. Fun and inspiring na kwentuhan? Sagot na yan ang programang Spotlight ng Daily Tribune. Makipagkwentuhan at kilalanin ng iba't ibang personalidad na kilala sa kani-kanilang larangan. Manood at makinig sa mga inspiring stories na kanilang ibabahagi kasama si Nina Ventura at Jojo Silvestre. Be ready ng mamangha at matuwa every Thursday alas 2 ng hapon dito lang sa Daily Tribune Facebook page at Tribune Now on YouTube.
You're still tuning in on Straight Talk, and here with me still is Miss Sass Rogando, Sasot. So Sass, ito, second to the last question na lang, no? You know, as an advocate of gender equality and respect for the LGBTQs, what is it that you want to request? Yan, sige, given mabibigyan ka ng opportunity to discuss one-on-one with President-elect Bongbong Marcos. What is it that you want to request to him for LGBTQs?
I think first of all, we cannot really advocate respect. I think respect is the basic lessons that we have already learned from our childhood. So you don't really need to advocate this. I think we just have to remind ourselves na the lessons that our parents taught us when we were kids and we forgot when we became adults. Ayun kay, you know, if I'm going to talk or speak with President-elect BBM face-to-face, I would still ask the same question I asked during SMNID Pro. Yung how are you going to balance, you know, kasi halimbawa sa issue na to, kasi yung question ko kasi nun sa SMNID Pro, very relevant sa issue nito. How do you balance the legitimate aim of protecting the rights and welfare of LGBT people as human beings, and of course the legitimate interest of religious groups in pursuing their religious beliefs in relation to LGBT people?
Okay.
So kasi, you know, these interests, diba, lumalabas yung pagkalaki ko sa Netherlands. Tolerance, diba? Tolerance. Diba, how are you going to reach a kind of fair situation when these two interests intersect and collide? Diba? Are you going to go to the extreme of favoring one side over the other? Na, you know, kasi it's gonna be all about power. It's either the religious group exerting power over LGBT people or LGBT people exerting power over religious group. And you don't want those two, either of those two extremes. Kasi, I have seen different kinds of situation na either extremes are either extreme is the modus vivendi. And I don't like either extremes. You know, I think, you know, it's really about finding a sense of fairness. Diba? A sense of fairness. And the Netherlands taught me that, you know, kasi sa tingin nila sa Netherlands, ganun, pero no, the Netherlands actually has a very level-headed approach on these things. So, ayun lang na yeah, that's what I would like to have a conversation.
And the important thing is finding that
about
symmetry,
yun.
no? Yung win-win situation. Mixed motive, no? Pag sa crisis communication, may dominant coalition.
Yes,
merong
exactly.
Public. Ayan. So, it's a challenge, no? For President-elect BBM, no? To implement or to find ways to reach that kind of symmetry.
Yeah, yung ano lang ba, what's fair? Kasi I think at the end of the day, alam mo, magkakaiba tayo eh. You know, it's a really pluralist society. And if you recognize that, then you would have to have you have to create a situation in where everyone could peacefully coexist. Diba? And that everyone would treat each other fairly and of course, humanely. Diba? So, kaya nga itong nangyari sa Cavite, it's a good conversation starter. Not really about LGBT rights, you know, forget about me being an LGBT, right? Look at me first as a human being.
As a person.
No, I don't really care if you hate me or whatever, right? But at the end of the day, we're both human beings. And what would you do if that's done to you and to whoever around you? Is it fair, diba? Yan naman kasi yung una eh. I don't really care. I don't really intend to change the belief of Church of God about people like me. I don't like converting you. I'm not an evangelizer. I'm not an evangelizer. I'm not here to promote my life or for you to follow. I don't even think that you could be me. Because you have your own unique way of existing in this world.
Respect and tolerance is really yun yung mga
Ako
main
more on intolerance eh. Kasi respect for me as a goddess, it's a more complex thing than tolerance. Kasi respect can only be developed when you really know the person. No? Huwag ka naman masyadong makapagplasiko. Nire-respeto kita. Pero you don't really know the person, di ba? You don't really know the person. You know, it's a more intimate kind of relationship, respect. And huwag na tayo magplastikan. We don't really know each other. So if you say that you don't respect the person, what's the basis, di ba? So kaya nga ang ano is really about tolerance. It's that very very basic thing na ano tayo, chill lang tayo sa isa't isa. Marami tayong pagkakaiba, but chill lang dapat tayo. Huwag tayong let's enjoy life together.
Yeah.
Di ba? Let's enjoy life together.
The very reason, yung isa nakikita ko dun sa mga comment section, yung main reason kung bakit nagagalit yung ibang mga tao dun sa ginawa sa'yo sa Cavite, is that because you were there as a guest, di ba? You were correct. You were invited there as a guest. You didn't insist on speaking. Sila yung nagsabi sa'yo na ikaw na yung susunod, magsalita ka. Dala mo ba yung speech mo with you? So the thing is, nung nagsalita ka, you were not even talking about, you know, you were not evangelizing. You were not persuading people to become like you. O hindi mo rin gina-justify kung ano ka as a person, di ba? You were talking about education.
And actually, the topic was resilience in adversity.
Oh. Tapos, di ba, ay, kaya naman pala, di ba, bagay na bagay sa'yo yung topic na yun.
Exactly. And the event itself. Kaya nga sabi nga nung isang admin sa akin, tuloy ka na kasi topic namin, resilience in adversity. Tapos
baka naman part ng ano yun, ng script yun, hindi mo lang alam. Na talagang
SPIST baka ano pala to, baka joke lang pala to. Baka
resilience in adversity, kasi tama-tama, no?
Pero ayun na nga, parang tama-tama, kaya nga my speech, I modified it a bit. Nasabi ko na, kinanto ko yung circumstance kung bakit hindi ako yung nag-speak nung earlier. And then, nagsabi ako na, you know, ito, may mga powerful forces na hindi ako gusto pagsalitain because I'm a trans woman, ganyan, but your school
insisted,
stood up, and that's,
stood by you.
And sabi ko, palakpakan nyo, you know, please give your school a big round of applause because they're showing what is resilience in action. So it's still educational,
Yes,
di ba?
yes.
Na yung nangyari.
Yes.
And then that's the time that I began my speech, and then sinabi ko na at 19, I became a transgender activist.
Yeah.
Then, bilang namatay na lahat.
It's part of the overall thought of your speech eh. Kasi you were teaching about resilience.
Resilience in adversity. Di ba?
adversity.
Anong gagawin ko? You know, guys, the best way to preach, okay? The best way to preach is with your life.
Correct.
And not with your lips. Di ba? Ano yan? If you want to know that the person really knows what they're saying about life, then study their life.
Correct. And you've been through, very difficult situations where you emerged as,
Oo, in the
the
Philippines and in Europe, and different challenges, ha? Kasi sa Europe, merong additional challenge ng racism.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of Filipinos here who live in the Philippines do not know what racism is when you experience it. It's very different. Di ba?
Kapag nasa ibang bansa ka,
Oo, kaya nga, ano yan na dito, you wouldn't feel inferior because of that you are a Filipino.
Oo.
Pero pagdating mo doon, suddenly, it doesn't matter na kung straight ka, LGBT ka, what matters is you're
race.
Filipino.
Yeah.
And
you were able to emerge victorious in that kind of battle.
Yes, exactly. And alam mo yon, I'm ready to share my life story.
Yes.
Kasi nga, it's Europe is not like the United States.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier to rise to the top in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
If you're Filipino,
Given that,
if you're immigrant, it's easier kasi United States is an immigrant country. Europe is a different kind of animal. It's an old world. It's
They care about your race, no?
meron pang ganyan. Kaya nga immigrants becoming high on top in European countries is unheard of. Diba? Kaya nga, recently lang sila naman.
Kaya yan, iniisip ko yung nangyari sa'yo sa Cavite, sisiw na lang yan sa hinarap mo sa Europa.
Oo.
Kaya,
saka dami pa. Kaya nga, yun din sabi mo.
Kaya naman pala composed ka. And very chill ka lang after that happened.
Yes. Saka life experiences. Saka it's a combination of my spiritual practice. I'm a Zen practitioner. So, pag mga ganyan, you find your Zen. You find your Zen, and kasi when I used to work in an international NGO, we had a training on how to handle aggression and difficult situation. And precisely, something like that.
Kaya talagang sisi, wala lang, ganun lang yan sa'yo eh.
Alam mo yun.
Yeah, but anyway, ito ha. Actually, ito hindi ko nakatanungan to. Kasi di ba we announced last night that we are going to interview you. So may mga ibang mga netizens na interested malaman itong mga bagay na to. So babasahin ko sa screen. Ayan, ang sabi nila, how many years have you been active on social media? And all those years, have you ever fallen in love with people you meet online? O yan, last question na yan ah.
I haven't fallen in love with people I met online. Actually, no.
Okay.
Why
is that?
Even on Tinder dates, I haven't fallen in love with anyone I met via Tinder.
Pero how many years have you been in social media? Have you been active?
6 years.
6 years.
6 years na this August.
Okay. So, syempre, maraming mga nagchat-chat, ganyan.
Ay, hindi rin.
Yeah.
Oo. Kasi, alam mo, kasi Goddess, I don't really like small talks.
Okay. Okay.
So, I prefer kasi ng face-to-face.
Okay.
Alam mo, I really admire courage sa isang tao, sa isang lalaki. And, when we were younger,
okay, sige, kasi young ka pa rin. Okay.
when we were in our younger years, nang wala pa tong online, you go out, and then the guy would have to muster the courage to approach you and have a conversation with you. Ngayon, that system, can you imagine now,
Hi, Sass.
you just type something, And then you could have access to whoever you want. So wala nang courage. Kaya ako talaga, nagbibigay talaga ako ng malaking premium sa courage na kaya I do not really fall in love anyone online. Na pag ako nakita mo and then you muster the courage, then pa ako may impress. Pero online, hindi talaga, never. I never had a boyfriend because of
Online.
online. Dalawa lang naman naging boyfriend ko and both of them
Kaya
I
hindi ka-
met in person.
Yeah, kaya hindi ka naloloko online eh.
No.
'Di ba? Kaya dapat matutunan 'yan ng iba pa nating mga kabataan at ibang mga kababaihan yung ganyang paniniwala ni Sass. No? Kaya ano 'yan, siguro let's invite her again for another episode of Straight Talk. Pag-usapan natin yung gano'n naman parte ng iyong buhay. But anyway, thank you very much, no? Thank you very much, Sass. Thank you for joining us today. Alam ko na marami kang schedule, maraming mga gustong lumapit at makipag-usap sa'yo. Do you have any parting words to our mga katribu?
Wala naman masyado. Well, thank you po sa mga nanonood na sumusubaybay sa akin. Thank you po. And I hope na may natututunan talaga kayo sa akin. So,
Of
ayun lang.
course.
And thank you, Asik Goddess, for having me here.
Of course. Ikaw
Yes.
pa ba? Ayan. Siyempre,
Yeah.
sabi ko nga sa'yo, top fan mo ko. And I'm very honored to have been given the opportunity to interview you face-to-face. Now,
Oh,
thank you
thank
very
you.
much, Sass.
Thank you.
Okay, and thank you very much. Watch Straight Talk Live every Tuesday at 10 a.m. on Daily Tribune's official Facebook page and on Tribune Now on YouTube. I am Goddess Hope Libiran, and this has been Straight Talk.